Hello everybody, greetings and well met to another stream. Today we're gonna be working on a puppet. Did you expect it? We're working on a mini. I'm gonna prepare the palette on the main camera with you guys so you can see the Chimera paints because you asked for it. You wanted to see the Chimera paints work, so we're gonna be... I mean, it's not a Chimera stream technically. I feel a bit bad to talk about other paints here, but we are gonna be using them on a Reaper mini, so at least there's that. Hello everybody, how are you doing? Let me lower the music because it's excruciating. Okay. Anyway, so we got a palette here. Gonna slap some paper on it. Plop, like this. So color-wise, Chimera paints are... This is the puppet, by the way. And man, these Bones USA minis, they are absolutely freaking incredible in the detail. Like very, very, very good detail. They look like a Games Workshop sculpt, not even joking, like just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So it's just a matter of... now it's just a matter of how much the sculptors wanna go to town on these minis. Anyway, Chimera paints. Chimera paints have the property of being pure pigment, which means that whatever color you are picking from the first or second main range, the artist line, the signature line are mixtures, they aren't pure pigments. But if you are using the main line of color, the first or second, they will be pure pigmented. Now, I would like to show you the white, if I could find it, but I can't. So that's gonna be fun. It doesn't really matter that much that I get the actual Chimera white. I can use any white, that doesn't matter because it's a white, it's titanium. There you go, I found it, the white. There you go. Hello everybody, hello, how are you doing? So the paints are pure pigment. That means that when you are working with them, you always need to mix a value, whether a black or a white or a gray, in the paint, at least to base coat with it. Now, I have no idea what colors I'm gonna use on this lady. What color should the cloth be? Quick, quick, quick! Give me the color for the cloth. Anyway, we can just get the orange out while we're here. Just gonna show you the color one by one as I load the palette so you don't see any tricks. We can get, I don't know, a purple maybe? If I can find it. I have like a line of paint here. There you go. Red. Okay, yeah, red works. Good color for Chimera. So the purple. I can show you guys some color theory if you would like. I'm not gonna be able to finish the mini today if I sit here doing color theory lessons, but I think it might be interesting. If you want, I can show you. I can give you some interesting color theory because Chimera paints are best to manage color theory and understand it. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I love Reaper paints and I use them all the fucking time. But one good thing about Chimera paints that no other brand has been able to give to the mini painting community so far, except heavy body paints that nobody uses because they are shit, is that the paints are pure pigment, which means color theory applies to them almost one-to-one. That means you can really create a lot of stuff and understand, more importantly, a lot of stuff just by working with the colors a bit and trying to apply what you know of color theory on the paint. Because, for example, if I tell you that colors that are opposite to one another cancel each other out into an almost black, if you try to do that on, for example, on a red and a green from most companies, what will happen is that you will not really get a cancelled out version of the color. What you will get is a grayed out cancelled version of the color. That's because both the green and the red you're gonna be using have, in 90% of the cases, have white or black added to them, which means you're not just mixing the pigment of green with the pigment of red to create the effect of desaturation, you're also mixing the gray that is in the green and the gray that is in the red together, basically doubling the desaturation. That means that you get a gray brown most of the time. Now, I can show you chromatic black. Chromatic black is the artist black, or whatever you want to call it. Like, there's a lot of fancy name for it. Basically, it's a black that is not created by black itself, but by using two pure colors together. And those colors are orange and blue. If I get orange and I add blue to it, which is the opposite on the color wheel, I get what is called chromatic black, which is not a real black, but it's very close to it. And that's what you can use if you really want to be fancy with your painting, because what you get is a saturated black, which is a bit of an oxymoron, but it's the truth. You get a color, a value that is very dark, but it's not generated by the use of black that has no information in it except value. You actually have color added in. And this kind of chromatic black can be done with all colors that are opposites to one another on the color wheel. Green and red, they also give you a chromatic black, because they are opposite. This one is very black as a color. All colors do that. So that's a pretty neat thing to know when using Chimera colors, is that you can darken stuff without the need to actually add black. You will need to add white because you need to light up stuff. But to darken, you can just use the opposite color on the color wheel, and that will give you a pretty interesting color. As for skin tones, because you guys were talking about it, doing it with Chimera is very easy. You just get the orange, you add white to it, and this is not a skin tone, this is a light orange. If you add black, in this case it's purple, but if you add something to desaturate, purple works, you get a pretty nice skin tone mixed in. This is a pretty good mid-tone for skin, which you can then add more white to, with a bit of yellow to highlight. Very easy. See, it's very easy. I'm gonna use exactly this mix to paint the skin on this lady. So that's what's about. The colors don't really work that well on their own. That's because, as I said, they don't have any white to carry coverage with them. So if you try, and that's like something you hear, especially at the beginning. Now people have sort of understood it, but like when the colors came out, people were always complaining about the lack of coverage, and the people from the company had to make statements explaining that the colors didn't have white, which is a stabilizer. Titanium is a stabilizer. So the pigment used to making white paint is actually used a lot for making stuff cover. So let's get to work on our lady and see where that takes us. How zoomed in? Okay, you can see, I guess. All right. Am I in camera? Yes. So for the skin, we can use the very same mid-tone color that we mixed. And since I have used white and even black to change, well, not really black, purple, but whatever. Since I have used white, this color is stable now and it is giving me coverage. If you guys have questions about color theory or these paints, feel free to ask. They do have to be thinned a little bit more than other paints. The paints are a little bit on the chalky side if you use them like out of the gate like this. So you will have to thin them a little bit. Good thing is that they don't lose coverage. So even though you're thinning them more than you would thin, for example, a Reaper paint, the paint maintains coverage. It just gets more fluid and workable that way. Although I'm using a very big brush to do a very small thing, so I think it's a bit annoying. Anyway, for the leg, I can use the same color, or I can already start playing around with color a bit more. For example, I can get myself a similar skin tone color than the one I had on the top, but add a bit more purple to it. This is gonna cool it down and make it look like it's darker. And there's a mold line there that I didn't see before. Aha. To make the color back to looking like a skin tone, we can highlight it with the skin tone color. So what is the base coat at the top becomes an highlight at the bottom. This is done to push focus towards the top of the mini. And you push focus with light. So you're gonna use more lighter colors, and you're gonna have more of them visible towards the top of a mini than at the bottom. So my bottom will have more of these shadow color, and it will be lit in mid-tone, while the top will be lit up with actual highlights. And I don't do layering like Anne does. I do base coating and wet blending. So my paints are pretty much always at a base coat consistency. To get coverage without getting brush strokes, I do crisscross, pulling the brush towards me. And that is eventually gonna build up into a nice color. You need to give it time to dry though. So while it is drying... Hello Asgard. God damn it. Just looking for the coverage out of my skin tone color at the top. Unless you're painting over a white, skin tone colors don't really cover in one go because they have orange mixed in, especially like Caucasian skin tone color. They have orange mixed in them, which makes the color have like zero coverage because orange is the worst color in the entire color wheel. For me, it's worse than yellow. Good thing is that it helps when working on skin tone because it can give you some nice blends without having to really work too much because the paint is super low coverage. Wet blending is meant to be done in steps. The idea that you have to get the perfect blend out of your first attempt at wet blending a detail is a mistake. I need to do this because this is gonna drive me insane otherwise. So rip leg, but I need to smooth it out otherwise. I'm a big fan of legs. I want my leg to be nice. Good thing is that it's a Reaper Mini, so I don't have to do anything about it. I can just paint over it. Like wet blending, you got a base coat. If you're working with acrylics, you can't do a one-go wet blending. You can do it with oils, but with acrylics you can't because the drying time is too fast to be able to perfectly blend something colors together, especially when there is a lot of difference between them in brightness. So what you do is you do the base coats. So you define the area of one color and the area of the other color, and you do it just by base coating. Then, when that's done, you start your wet blend by re-base coating the color on top of one another where they should be, and then blending. But even then, you're not really expected to be getting a perfect blend. What you do is you let it dry, and then you try again, or you clean up with glazing. Like getting a perfect wet blend in one go is more a matter of luck than it is a matter of skill. Okay, so we got our midtone blocked in. I'm now gonna go back to the darker midtone that I have mixed to try and regain some shading. Okay. While that's drying, we can use our lighter yellowish color that we mixed earlier during the showing, and this will be our light. Okay. Was looking a bit dark. Okay, you can see that the face is getting lighter. I can go back to my mid-tone color and make it happen, make it look like a shadow in this case, because we are in an area of light. So there is no reason to have deep shadows on a face when it is the focus of attention on a female, especially when they have very rounded faces. A guy will have wrinkles and stuff like that that makes possible to shade harder a face. But in the case of a woman, you have to be very careful with it, because if you overshade it, she looks like a man with makeup, or like a man with a very effeminate face rather than a woman. There is a lot of theory in how to paint women, and it's very different to how men look like, of course. So we can go and paint the light also on the chest. And clean up with the previous color. You can see I'm just pushing them one into the other to get a blend. Acrylics were invented to be faster drying oils. That's pretty much the motor behind the invention of acrylic painting has been that. So you have to understand the purpose of an acrylic to be able to, I think, use it fully. And acrylic paints, being faster drying oils, at least technically, are meant to be wet blended and they are meant to be glazed. Those are the two techniques that I believe you should know to really paint well with acrylics. Layering, like Anne does, works perfectly, and she did get some really good results. What I do find about layering that I don't like is that it takes a very long time to get anything going. And a good thing of wet blending is that you can just nail the detail out of the gate in the base coating stage and then refine later by changing the tone or the value or the color of things. Just with a couple of simple glazes. That really makes it fast. So the hand as well. That said, there is a certain element of cleanliness that you get out of layering that is very difficult to get from the wet blending. So if you really like smooth blending, layering will be the technique to use. I do prefer textures to blends, so I tend to not really care too much. But it's all about getting the shape of things right. So now the face is looking lighter than the leg, but we don't really have that much contrast in it. So we can just keep adding white without losing color though. So we want to carry color in our white. That means I'm not going to use pure white here. I'm going to use a white that is mixed into the yellow, and that gives me a light yellowish orange color. And again, since we're using pure pigments in this case, I have full control of the mixture, so I'm not getting any surprises in doing this, because none of my colors have white pre-mixed in them, which means I am not ending up with desaturated highlights without knowing why, because my mid-tone, I mixed it. It wasn't a mid-tone, like as an example, this color here, okay? Whatever, this one. Brown Rose from AK. It's a nice color, and it does work as a mid-tone for skin tones, if you are building up. But the problem is that this color already has black in it, not just white. This color has gray added to it. This is an orange with a bit of red with a lot of dark gray mixed in. So when I go and add white to this, my white paint is gonna be interacting with the black that is part of the gray. And that is gonna give me some very, very shit highlights. So that's the problem, especially with skin tone. Because you don't want your lights in your skin to be desaturated, you want them to be vibrant. And to maintain vibrancy, you need to stay away from the color black, because black kills vibrancy of anything it touches. I was usually learning for forest feathers. Yeah, I mean, like anything, you gotta build the experience up on it before you can enjoy the fruits of the technique. Like airbrushing, you know? Like, for example, I hate airbrushing, and I do it as little as I can, and every time I do it, I complain about it. But the reason why I hate it is because I don't know how to do it well, and I don't know how to do it well because I don't do it. If I did it more, I could probably know how to do it, and then I would like airbrushing. Now, I don't like my mid-tone too much because it is too orange, so I'm just gonna add a bit of red to it. Just a touch. That's gonna give me a bit more of a lively color rather than just an orangish feeling color. Just gonna push paint around. And here, for example, I am glazing. So the paint has been thinned down, and I am using it as a filter to change color. I'm gonna lose some contrast, so I'm gonna have to go back and regain it in a minute or two. But I am blending a bit more, and I'm also getting a color that is more similar to the one I want. So again, we can keep going here. Just adding a bit of yellow and a bit of white. Is there any black? Any black. Even the mixed ones will kill your vibrance. If you watch any really good painter, both canvas but also mini painter. For example, let's say, okay, I'm just gonna give you an idea. I want to paint the cloth. I know the cloth is gonna be red, okay? So my cloth is red. So that's the color. I'm gonna darken it. So I'm gonna add green to it to mix my shadows. Okay? So that's my shadows. I am keeping this mixture that I have on my brush I am keeping it away from my pure red, because if I start adding white now, and this color that is desaturated is on my brush or is in the mixture, my red in the light will lose power. So if I instead clean the brush, get a bit of white, add it to my red, and then a bit of yellow to maintain vibrance, I get a pretty vivid light to my red, an orangish light. If I add white to this desaturated red, I get a gray red. Because this red is desaturated. So it's a cool desaturated color. And when we work in our lights, we want to maintain vibrance, especially on details that should be vibrant, like skin, metals, stuff like that. Cloth doesn't have to be vibrant because it's cloth, so it doesn't really shine that kind of way, but it would be nice to have it. So knowing how much black is in your mixture really helps understand how things work. And in general, when working on lights, you want to stay away from colors that have black in them. Now that said, we live in a pre-mix kind of world, which means if a color looks bright and vibrant, it is bright and vibrant, and that's it. What I mean is that if you use a color that is designed to be an highlight, that kind of color has been worked on by the company already to have all of these properties in itself, so you don't have to worry about it. But you will get problems if you do like the middle ground kind of painting. It's funny because like most of the time you are better off just painting with recipes, because if you start mixing halfway through, in a sense that you use a recipe for your shadows and midtones, but then you just add white to highlight, that becomes a problem, because the color you're going to be using to highlight, like the color you're adding white to, most likely has black in it, because it's a midtone. And midtones often have black. So you either go all the way and you mix everything, really thinking about what pigments you're using, or you just, chill out and use recipes, because they work. Here I'm just looking for coverage. Yeah, green sucks when you add white to it. You gotta add the white and the yellow. I wasn't feeling the contrast with the colors I had mixed, so I insisted on the on the white-yellow mix to increase value. Because I want my light to kinda happen. I don't want to spend 2 hours layering up to it. So I'm just base coating a very light color. I can modify it with a glaze if I want to, but at least I get the blam of light. You gotta be careful though when doing this, because when you are using colors that have extreme value difference, it's very important how you brush the color on. So you need to be a bit more careful with how you brush on when you're doing extreme value changes, like I am doing now. Because if you start brushing around, the paint will choke up. So we got our extreme light, so we can go back to our mid-tone and now get an in-between value to clean up and finish. Do you always mix? Do you sometimes use 3 premix? I always mix unless I am doing tabletop. If I'm doing tabletop painting, I use premixtures if I can. Because it's faster because like for example, this is from my Patreon, right? So if I'm doing videos for my tabletop series, I try to make it as recipe as possible, so people can nail the color by copying the color I'm using, and that's it. If I am painting display quality, or painting for myself, or whatever, or a commission, I will be mixing everything myself. Starting from some like saturated colors, like the ones I have on the palettes now, and just play around in mixing them. I need to use a smaller brush, even though I don't want to, but this one is way too big. But keep the question coming. I'm happy if I have something to talk about, so just ask me stuff. Switching to a smaller brush is not a matter of precision, is a matter of load. Like, I haven't switched because I can't get the paint where I want it to be, because I definitely can. But it's more about the fact that I don't want the brush to be too loaded with paint when I go and paint a very small area. I want to manage the unloading of paint in a way that I can control fully, rather than kind of gamble on the brush deciding to unload too much paint on an area. So there is a reason to use small brushes, and it's not just because you can't paint an area because it's too difficult for you with a big brush. It's the size of the belly really that matters. Because when you're working details, if you are good enough, any brush is good, because the tip is always the same size. Like, the very tip of this brush is the same size of the tip of the brush I was using before. Because it's a tip, so it's like a couple of hair. But what changes is the belly size. Yeah. I just don't have any small brush that I currently like. Because the ones I had died. I was so happy with the green stuff one, but... just slowly. Now I have to move on to sorta layering, although it isn't. Because I need to adjust the value on the small area. And I need to also get coverage. So I can't just blob the color on, because otherwise it's never gonna cover properly. I have to actually build into it a little bit more. So I get like 80% of the work done with wet blending and glazing. And the rest with a few layers here and there. Before I get lost for an hour and a half painting the skin, I want to do the cloth with you guys so you can see it. So as we said before, I can start from red, which is the real mid-tone that I want to use, and I can add the green to it to darken and get a shadow. And again, since these colors are pure in their pigmentation, I don't have to worry too much about having weird things happen to the color. I know for a fact I will get a darker red. And you can darken green by adding red too, it's just a matter of how much. If you do a 50-50 mix, you'll get like a brown-black. If you have more red, you'll get a dark red. If you have more green, you have a dark green. Again, the downside is that since we're working with colors that don't have white in them, the coverage is not the greatest ever. So I do suggest genital priming your mini if you are going to be using Chimera paints, because on black they absolutely fucking suck. Yeah, going below 0 is overkill. Okay, if I want to go darker, I can just add more green to push the shadows even further, and this is also going to cool down the color. Hola, croquetina. ¿Qué tal, amor? Todo bien, todo bien. Estoy enseñando cómo usar los colores Quimera, porque han pedido antes de que un par de personas se han interesado, así que... Tienes que vértelo ese directo. La primera parte, porque te explica mucho cómo funciona la teoría del color. Y nada. Tú vas a hacer directo, ¿no? Esta noche. Ok. No, I do believe a zero brush makes sense for this scale. Like, if you paint a lot of Reaper minis, 0 is a good size to have. I mean, I know Kirill Kanev paints busts with a 0 brush. Okay. Just gonna blend the two now. Will you write in the book? What book, sorry? Ah! Well, I'm stupid. Yeah, I don't know what, but I'll write yes. Okay. It's all cool and all, but the color looks awful right now because we are working with desaturated, ugly colors. If I go to the red and I add a minuscule amount of white just to stabilize, what a tune indeed. We can now get our mid-tone out. And this red is very good. It's a very strong red. I mean, to be honest, if you have a retardant, there isn't that much of a difference. I used to be like adamant on the use of wet palettes, but honestly, if you are okay changing your paint every session, which you should anyway, even with a wet palette, and you have a good retardant you add to your paints so they don't dry in the well, it's not that much of a difference. And layering wise, if you do lots of layering, a well palette is probably better than a wet. Because the consistency for layering is very finicky, and once you get it, you don't want to lose it from the paint drying or being thinned by the palette. Another important thing is, even though you might be using the same color for a long time, often wash your brush. Because when the brush bristles start drying, painting becomes unbearable. You always want to have a damp brush at all time. If the brush is starting to dry, you need to wash it. Like, I was noticing my paint was starting to kind of like have a hard time coming out of the brush. That means you have to wash it. Most people make the mistake of thinning the paint when they feel that. Like, they have a pretty good thinned paint and they're like, oh man, the paint isn't coming out. Let me thin it a bit more. And that's a mistake. You have to just wash the brush. Really? Is that how it sounds? This song sounds like my depression. I need to find another playlist, man. So you can see that the red is very intense, so we don't really need to do that much in the lighting. Because if I start lighting too much light, we lose the red and we get instead a pink. So I can just keep the lights very small. And let the mid-tone speak for me. That's how you get a really good red. It can only really be done on cloth because other materials will reflect more lights. But cloth, like the Napoleonic red that looks so intense, is so intense because it actually has very small highlights. If you go and look at a picture of a painting of Napoleon, you will see that it's basically red. There isn't that much light going on top of the red. Most of the work in contrast happens in shadows. That's because materials like cloth don't reflect much light because they are matte. Matte material aren't reflective. The reflectiveness of a material is how much light you will see on it. So on a metal, you will see more light than you will see on a skin, and on a skin you will have more light than you will see on a cloth. It's pretty common to just want to highlight everything the same, but that's a mistake. You don't have to. Okay, then to finish it off, we can just go back to the pure red. Because we haven't actually used pure red on this cloth, we have used the red with a bit of white in it to get coverage. So I can just glaze like Anne did earlier with the yellows. We can do it the same way. This glaze is gonna do nothing to the shadows because red is a color that has terrible coverage. So it's not really gonna do anything in shadow. So you can do it all over without worry. And all you're gonna get is a more intense mid-tone and light. So the lights are becoming vermilion rather than pinky orange like they were. And the mid-tones are becoming red. That's pretty much it. So on a red cloth, the highlight is very close to the mid-tone in color. In value. Not necessarily in color, because... Let me hide my face 1 second. Not necessarily in color, because the lighting condition might change the color in light, but what doesn't change much is the value. Again, how do your eye know the difference between the wood of the handle and the metal of the cutter? What is giving you the difference is the value of the colors. The shadows, the shadows of my... Wait, I just dropped my thing. Got it. Ah, this is actually pretty bad. I'm almost out of paper for my hair. Anyway, the shadows of the wood are similar to the middle. Like, if you look at this wood handle, it barely has any shadows because it's being lit by multiple angles. But if you look at the top, at the very top of it, you see that there is a small shadow there. That small shadow, value-wise, is not that different from the mid-tone, which, by the way, is not this big chunk of whitish color you see. The mid-tone I can't show you because if I turn it, the light is gonna change it. But if you look between the deepest shadow at the top of where the brush is, between that deepest shadow and the lightish white creamy color, there is a touch of orange brown. That's the mid-tone. Everything else you're seeing is light right now. And you can see that there is very low difference in value between them. While if you look at my knife, the light is pure white, the mid-tone is next to the white, and it's a gray, basically, a light gray. And then you have like almost black shadows. Anyone know of any good online miniature painting courses or teachers? Me. I am the best you will ever need. Well, maybe not the best, although I'm close to it. But no, I have a Patreon. I teach painting both at display standard, using non-metallics and OSL and stuff like that. And I also do mini painting at a tabletop standard, teaching simple techniques and quick recipes to get your models to look pretty nice on the table. All of these is also added in to theory videos. So there's a bunch of videos on color theory. For example, every color on the color wheel has its video dedicated to it, explaining how it works. And we have videos on how to do non-metallics, videos on volume. I do plan on shooting 2 videos this month for theory for the Patreon, because I haven't done one in a while. It depends on what tier you join, Jake. If you want to join the tier that gets feedback from me at any time of the day through chat message, it's $40 a month. And you get all the videos, all the PDF guides, everything that is on the Patreon itself, plus the ability to message with me privately for feedback. If you want to spend more, there is the private lesson tier, which is a video chat with me, where I usually just use Photoshop. I share you my screen on Photoshop, and through Photoshop I make changes on your pictures. While I do those changes, I explain them to you, and I explain how to do the changes and why I'm doing the changes, and you get to improve really fast. And that's $80 a month for 1 hour a month, or $100 a month for 2 hours a month. Is there a tier for private Dota 2 sessions? I mean, if you want to do the inner circle tier and spend the hour playing Dota, I'm fine, man. We can do that. It's in one of the links that Queen Delilaroo triggered in chat. The first link, basically. The second link, sorry. The second link is the Patreon. Thank you, Queen Lena. No, don't worry, dude. I work for Reaper, but I'm not... like, I do streams on Twitch for Reaper 2 hours a week. Every other day of the week, I am streaming on my own stream, and I paint models from a bunch of different companies with different colors. Even right now on Reaper stream, I'm not actually using Reaper paints. I'm painting a Reaper model. But no, I paint on my own Twitch, I paint everything. I paint busts, I paint infinity. I started this one today. We're getting there. I'm liking how she's looking. Paint infinity, I paint Warhammer, I paint whatever. I paint Dritz. I have a Dritz model here. Hello. Man, this face looks good though, man. I need to work on this puppet more and I need to finish it. Because the face is looking very good. I need to man up, man. And yeah, every Friday I do give feedback to my viewers on Twitch too. Also, the tiger looks good. I like the tiger as well. I hate how heavy and big it is, but I do like how it's looking. Look at the fur. Don't you want to pet it? Look at the fur. Look at it. Looks like a real tiger. It's actually a panther. Whatever. Look at it. Look at the fur. It's so fluffy. It's so fluffy! Okay, sorry. Anyway, I need to paint this guy. I need to get out of my burnout. I need to get out of my goddamn burnout and paint. But I feel so incapable of painting today. You guys have no idea. Yesterday too, I worked on the Patreon and it was a tragedy. I'll show you, actually, because I haven't. I was working on the Patreon, and this is the lady I've been working on. And holy fuck, did it feel like I didn't know what the heck I was doing? Like I did somewhat get it right, somewhat on the face. But I need to work so much more. Like, look, it's so unclean. Oh my god. So yeah, I have to. I just don't know. I'm just tired, I guess. The link doesn't work? Really? Thank you, Queen. Okay, back to this lady. Let's do the eyes, just to... Yeah, no, that Patreon model, yes. I am almost 100% gonna strip it and repaint it. Which means I have to figure out one other mini to paint for the Patreon. Because I don't have time. This month has been rough, man. Yeah. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's not like we spam that thing anyway all the time, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. Making it a little bit more pale. Do you ever use satin medium? No, I will use satin paints if I want satinness. And with that I mean inks. Because like when it comes as far as satin paints go, inks are the best satin paints you can buy pretty much. They don't have coverage. You can mix them into other colors and you will get satinness that way. Okay, I gotta work on the top of the other eye, because I haven't touched it. I also have to clean up the eye itself, because when I did the white dot, I kind of lost the iris. Okay, now I need to remain. That's good. Gonna let this dry and do it again. Seems like I can't get anything right today, dude. Wow. What an annoying feeling. Thank you. The one eye turned out perfect, the other looks shit. Which is almost worse than getting both eyes looking shit. Hello, 8. Maybe when I get Spanish citizenship, I'll be able to stop complaining. Because I won't be Italian anymore. Okay, good enough. Giving her a bit of color to the cheeks and nose. I'm gonna zoom in, but I don't know what I'm gonna see, honestly. No, okay, it's alright. I can paint, actually. Who would have thought? Okay, well, whatever. I don't know, dude. For the last few days, getting anything right has costed me a lot more energy than I would have liked. Okay, that's pretty good. This means, in turn, that we can go back to the leg a little bit. Because now, after working the lights on the body, we know the value. So we can increase the lightness of the leg just a little bit. Not as much as I have on the chest and face, but enough so that it looks painted, you know? Okay. The government, another one. No, I don't complain about those. I love them. You know that. Now I'm mixing yellow and purple together to get a desaturated color, to which I'm adding a touch of white to light up. I want basically a gray-purple color, a grayish-purple color to light up my clothing. Notice how I haven't used black. I don't even have it on my palette. Like, I've mixed everything only by mixing colors into one another and adding white. There is no black. Enjoy watching the dog. Walking the dog, my dude. I'll be seeing you later. Thank you for hanging out. Really. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, I think this is it for today, and we can work on finishing this lady next week. Let's get the face, I mean not the rest of the body cleaned up a bit, get the non-metallic, there's a few metal things hanging off of her, and paint the book. I can write the word twat in it or something.
In time, you will know the massive extent of my bibbidi.
But yeah, this is it. I hope you have enjoyed the painting and also the demonstration on Chimera color for those of you who did ask for it. I hope it was enlightening. They're pretty easy to use once you understand a couple of things about them, which I have explained today, so I hope you will like them. And that's it. I'll be seeing you next week. So you take care. Have a good day. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for chatting with me and spending time together. And I'll be seeing you next week or on my own stream. Friday we're working on this lady. Back to doing a lot of non-metallic, lots of shiny BBDs. So yeah, if you want to, you can watch me there. See ya later. Bye. Bye.